Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of Cruel and Beautiful, Eye of the Dragon, and Rabbit Hole. And I've lately been catching up on Mob Psycho. I've never seen season 2. I saw season 1 back when it first came out, and I really, really, really liked it. But I didn't see it in English, so I'm watching the entire thing again, watching season 1 over again, and I am completely taken aback by how much I'm enjoying this. I don't want to say I was in love with Mind Psycho. I liked it a lot, but I was watching it like immediately after the One Punch Man hype, and I thought it didn't really hit the same mark for me. I thought it was like kind of lackluster in a lot of ways. The characters weren't as interesting. The situations weren't as compelling. The character arcs didn't seem to be going anywhere. Well, again, that's a little bit unfair because the show is still great. What I'm getting at is that like I didn't like it nearly as much as One Punch Man. But like upon rewatching it and sort of like evaluating it as sort of like its own thing, like I absolutely adore this show. Like if I had seen it like at another time, like seeing it like at a completely different point in time when I wasn't just like wanting more One Punch Man, like, I would have been all over this. In fact, in a lot of ways, I would say this is a very, very interesting take on one of my all-time favorite shows, Yu Yu Hakusho. You have, like, the kid with psychic powers fighting ghosts in this, like, middle school environment. Like, it kind of has the same vibe in that sense. Like, you know, supernatural stuff, like, teen angst, stuff like that, but whereas like Yu Yu Hakusho is like kind of the defining example of how to do a really, really good like shonen anime very, very quickly, right? Like a very, very well-paced shonen anime. Mob Psycho seems like almost like a subversion of the typical anime tropes and cliches. And I think that's what makes it so great and so compelling. Especially like upon rewatching it. A lot of this stuff I didn't really pick up on the first time, but like watching it again and seeing how this plays out, you really do feel as if the show is setting you up for something, the typical shonen plot in which like Mob embraces his powers and beats the shit out of his enemies and becomes popular, gets with his like cutie pie crush or whatever, you know, wish fulfillment shit, versus what actually happens in which Mob continues on his journey of like individualizing himself as a person, becoming one with who he wants to be. Like this isn't a show about like a kid like embracing his psychic powers and becoming like super powerful. Like this is a show about like an incredibly powerful psychic who wants to be like a normal person, who realizes that becoming the typical shonen protagonist wouldn't be a fulfilling existence. That's the thing that Mob Psycho really like loves emphasizing, I think, is that like the idea that like having superpowers would make you super popular like is completely it's just a fantasy. Like it wouldn't actually play out that way. And in Mob's case, it showcases like how he's like super reserved because of his powers, how he's physically weak because of his powers. It really emphasizes how like having these abilities didn't make him happy. It didn't make him like fulfilled. It didn't make him like it didn't give him a purpose in his life. And I think like Mob Psycho is really, really good at showcasing how Mob, someone who like feels like super out of place in his environment, sort of begins his journey of sort of becoming like a person, like a happy, functional adult, right? You know, seeking out male mentor figures in Reagan, learning like who he wants to be, building up who he is with the Body Improvement Club, going on adventures with like Toru and those guys, dealing with other psychics. Like this is all like him going down, living his life basically, and like figuring out like who he wants to be going forward. It is incredible stuff. Of course, I kind of wish that like some of the characters were more fleshed out. Like characters like Onagawara, Musashi Goda, the body improvement club guy. Like, I kind of wish these guys had like more of a role in season one. Like, I'm kind of wondering like why there was that whole like side story about like fucking over the delinquents. It didn't really seem to matter all that much. Like, I kind of feel like maybe Mob's brother shouldn't have gotten psychic powers. Like, there are like weird things like that to like talk about and like discuss in regard to this show. Again, I don't think like it hits every single mark perfectly like One Punch Man did. It certainly has its like shortcomings, I think, but when it lands, like when it hits, like it hits really, really well. For example, I think this is my favorite scene in the anime. Very, very early on, I want to say it was like episode 2 or 3, where Mob is like being coerced into joining like the telepathy club. A bunch of loser misfits who just sit around doing nothing. Mob is being pressured by these people to join them simply because he has like nothing better to do, right? Because he has nothing going on in his life. Join us so they don't shut us down. Join us for our benefit, right? We don't care about you. We don't want you to like realize your own goals or like realize your own potential. This is about us. We want you to join because you have nothing else going on, and we want to stay here in this room. Mob, realizing doesn't really want to do it, but because of how meek he isn't really willing to say no, right? Even though he has a job, even though he has like, perfectly good reasons to say no, he doesn't actually do it. And what happens next is that like is a really surprising sort of a really interesting moment in which the vice president of the student council drops by. Discusses the closure of the telepathy club with its president, and then like asks Mob if he really wants to join. And the thing that really impresses me about One's writing with this scene, right, is that like this completely random side character, right, and Reagan, right, who had been encouraging Mob to not join the telepathy club anyway. It's this completely random side character who really gives this really passionate, really motivational speech, to Mob, lecturing him on like actually doing what he wants to do. Like, how is joining the telepathy club going to make his life better? And that really like puts it all into context for Mob. Like, he doesn't want to just do nothing with his life, right? Like, he wants to do something more. He doesn't want to like just join a loser, the losers club, and accept his fate as a loser, right? Like, he wants to be a winner. He wants to go down that path. He wants to like really live his life to the fullest. And as a result of that, he takes his first major step, well, second. I would say meeting Reagan was his first. His second major step into becoming like an individual person, right? Deciding to join the Body Improvement Club. Doing something completely new, something completely different in order to work on a fundamental weakness he has developed as an adult, like during his adolescence. His physical frailty because of his over-reliance on his psychic powers. Mind-blowing shit. And immediately you get this funny moment with like the bodybuilding club being taken aback at first, but then like immediately agreeing to it, and then like afterward like treating him like a beloved member of the group. It's incredible. Like, it is phenomenal how well executed it was. And it was the right decision for Mob to make, because it was something he really wanted to do. It was something he really wanted to work on, and these guys are the right people to be around, right? Mob is an incredibly inspirational story in that respect, in which Mob doesn't necessarily do what others want him to do. He wants to live his life, right, and to make his life better. And throughout season 1, you sort of see him do that in all sorts of little ways. Rejecting the typical shonen protagonist. Like, even when he got caught up in the psychic adventure at the end, where like he has to deal with like the Claw organization and all these crazy fucks, that was due to the fact that like his brother was kidnapped. Like, he had no real interest in fighting these psychics. And once his brother is returned, that's all there is to it. Like that's the end of the arc. I love it. Like I really enjoyed this show, and I heard that like season 2 is like amazing. Like some of the best animation and some of the best anime goodness in recent memory. So one of the reasons I'm watching it again is to finally getting around to watching season 2. So I'm really curious like how this is going to improve going forward, or if it improves at all, and like if everyone was just fucking with me or whatever. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna watch it today actually. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Love Mob Psycho, and I will be seeing you all next time. Thank you.